Well, as graduation ceremonies wrap up on the Suncoast, many local high school and college graduates are leaving the area in search of careers. Well, meanwhile, local CEOs are struggling to fill open positions in their growing companies. Luckily, there are new efforts to connect these two groups. Pete Peterson, CEO of Dealers United, and Anand Palagar, founder of At Large Incorporated, are both part of the initiative. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you for doing this. We want to keep our kids here.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, just to give a little bit of background for our viewers, you both head up growing companies right here on the Suncoast. Pete, let's start with you. Tell us just a little bit about Dealers United.
Yeah, so Dealers United helps about 6,500 auto dealers in the U.S. and Canada. We really specialize in the digital marketing aspect of those auto dealers, and our biggest claim to fame over the past year is our partnership with Facebook. We've become one of the largest, fastest growing partnerships on Facebook's platform, helping auto dealers migrate their traditional media to digital.
Wow, that's fantastic. And right here in downtown Sarasota. And Anand, At Large is home in the Rosemary District.
We are indeed.
Tell us a little about what you all do.
So we're essentially a digital marketing firm as well, and what we effectively do is connect brands to consumers. We do that by building social campaigns, mobile apps, website apps, commerce platforms, and things like that. And we have a pretty robust local clientele, from Sun Hydraulics to IMG to Feld Entertainment, and run quite a wide array of different services through the region.
And what I see both companies have is that you are working in a field that is constantly growing, and that a lot of people don't often think of the Suncoast being a part of all of that digital growth. So what do you think is the issue? Why do you think we're having a hard time keeping graduates here?
For me, I think a lot of it's literally perception at this point. I think we need to expose our students more to all the amazing companies that are here, and the companies to the students as well. And so we're creating a lot of initiatives, including things like BIG, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, that's connecting students to the CEOs of the local businesses. And then the whole goal is you got to get outside your four walls, right? You've got to get the students outside of the campus and into the actual the job market. And so that comes through internships, and we've got a lot of new innovation happening around that. And that also comes from programs where where our CEOs are teaching inside these actual classrooms as well. So when we connect those two communities together, we can bridge that gap and we can keep our students here.
And they'll be able to make as much here as they would if they went to Atlanta or New York or someplace? That was my daughter's question.
So everything's relative.
When she graduated.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, can I make enough money to stay here?
Absolutely.
We need to grow it to that point so they can.
Yep.
And I think we're there. And I think one of the challenges you have in this market is where you stand is what you see, right? I'm a big believer in that. So as a student, you come here, go to college, you might put blinders on to the business world. And it's not till you are about to graduate that you start to look for a job, and it can be almost overwhelming. But I think what you're starting to see is, as we'll talk about with BIG, that interrelationship between the graduating student class, catching them earlier in the process and giving them an opportunity to engage with companies in the region, is how those roles of tomorrow are going to get fostered here. And I think from a salary standpoint, when you look at cost-adjusted base of living, I think we're there as a market, in certain industries and certain career types. But again, in every market, even Atlanta, there are high-paying jobs and there are low-paying jobs.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And quality of life, I think, factors into that as well.
In a huge way.
So you've mentioned BIG, that it's bright ideas on the Gulf Coast, and that kind of feeds into this next part. What skills were you finding were lacking in the outcoming graduates?
So just a backstory on BIG. BIG was actually started by Dean Eisner. He's chair of co-chair of BIG today. But what he realized was that 90% of graduates were leaving the region looking for these jobs. Your daughter kind of sounds like she was in that dilemma too.
90 is huge.
And so what he decided to do was he approached Gulf Coast Community Foundation, and they created BIG. And BIG was essentially a mechanism to try and retain and educate students on the opportunities that exist here in our backyard. So it's really a conduit connecting businesses with students. To answer your question about the talent gap or the pieces that are missing, a couple of different initiatives that we've done. Pete and I have worked together on, one of which is to bring new types of learning to the student body. I'll let Pete talk about that.
Yeah, so one of the things that was interesting, a few years back, we were working on a project together at my last company. I was with a company called LexJet and S1 here in town. And as I was working with them, I realized they were actually in USF Tampa, and they were teaching up there some classes. And I said, well, why aren't we doing that here in our backyard? And at that point, USF Sarasota Manatee was not a 4-year school, and their curriculum was changing. And so there was a unique opportunity and some shifting in the way that the universities are receiving funding, align the businesses a lot more with the student curriculum. So we had an opportunity to work with the dean over there at the College of Business, and actually take the program that was kind of created up in the Tampa market and bring it local here. So we brought local companies, local CEOs, and there's about 5 of us that all work together, and we created a digital marketing class at University of South Florida to create the skills needed to actually understand what digital marketing was, take it from beyond a general marketing class and get it to the digital focus that's on there, so that we can start giving them a little bit more skill set and basically training them before they enter our business about the skills they need.
And that almost like plants the seed right before they've even graduated that, oh, there's someone right here.
Absolutely.
You also, I know, have had ongoing events, and Pam, you've been a part of it.
Yes.
Tell us quickly about the events that are part of the initiative.
I know that we spearheaded the first one at McCurdy's Comedy Theater, and I loved the forum and how it was represented, getting the kids there, the graduates, and getting them to meet in an informal, very, hands-on, one-on-one with all the CEOs. Because that's a very, intimidating experience when you're trying to go out for a job interview, haven't been there quite yet, you've been in a classroom in that kind of environment. So I thought
So
that
you're
was...
literally putting them in the same space.
Yes.
And from McCurdy's, it's grown. You recently just had one at Moat, and these have continued.
Yes.
So this is a way people can get in the same.
And really, the intent here is to introduce the students early in their educational track to the companies that are in our backyard, because the sooner you can inspire them and show them that this is what real life looks like in Sarasota, the more affinity they're going to have, so that when they graduate, they're not looking to major markets to find jobs. They already have a relationship. They've met Pete, they've met other CEOs, they've met Pam, and so they have a connection to go approach them and say, hey, what kind of roles do you have? Or they might have actually got a flavor for it through an internship.
Oh, that
Yeah.
would be so great.
Yeah.
When I graduated from college, I thought, what do I want to do now? I was not at all prepared.
Sure, and
Yes.
you may not know, but at least you can know what is out there and what is
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
It's
And
a
why
great-
we chose to be here
Sure,
in
sure.
Sarasota, what our story is.
This is a great initiative. If you would like more information about it, we're just barely scratching the surface of all of the great programs as part of Big Bright Ideas on the Gulf Coast. You can go to the website, gulfcoastceoforum.com/big, B-I-G. Get more information. Find out how you can get involved. Coming up next, a Suncoast Jazz student tells us about a big honor for summer break.